All right, so the third part of our Ridley Scott retrospective is Kingdom of Heaven. Yeah, I think you should take this one first.
Yeah, so Kingdom of Heaven, this definitely goes on like one of the most boring movies I've ever watched in my life. And I'm not even joking. Like, you told me about this movie, you're like,
I did.
yeah, it's pretty bad, but and pretty like boring bad, but I was like, no, it can't be that bad. And then we watched it, and then I saw that you were completely right. So yeah, like this movie right here, uh, it's like you don't give a shit about anybody. Like every character introduced, you don't give a shit about a single one of them. I mean, and there's no point either. I mean, the way this film is edited too, it's like it's edited so weird because you'll be from one spot and out of nowhere, out of nowhere you're in a completely different spot, and it made no sense in the way it was edited. I remember you bringing that up earlier to me too. It was I think it was like we were an hour into the movie, and I think Orlando Bloom, I think he was traveling
He
to the city.
he got on a boat, and then we end up in the desert like the next scene.
Yeah. It was cut so strange. It's so weird how this movie transitions, and then it's like a lot of the scenes just drag on, and it's so unnecessary, and it just weakens the movie even more. And like the intermissions are odd too, because I think it was on the intermission. It was just a black screen with the music playing for about a good 10 minutes. That's what it felt like at least, and I'm like, it makes no sense, and that's how a lot of the scenes are. They make like fucking no sense, or they're just dragged out for so long, and it just really makes the movie so fucking boring to watch. There's all these characters introduced, but then again, like I said, you don't care about a single one of them because they're like there's no point to. They're not interesting enough. I think I think the only character I'd say that seemed kind of interesting was the one with that disease and had to wear that mask and everything. I forgot what the disease was.
The king.
Yeah, yeah. Like Orlando Bloom, he's the main character in this, and I guess you're supposed to care for him, but like I didn't give a fuck about him at all in his journey. It was just so pointless. And all the major battle scenes, the action scenes, it wasn't even exciting at all. Because, like I said, they gave you no reason to care about the characters and everything going on. So, I mean, it just makes the movie feel that much longer, man. I mean, this movie was just a complete waste of time for me. I didn't enjoy it at all. I guess a good thing I could say about it was just the camera work and stuff, and the locations were nice. But I think that's pretty much it. There was nothing else I really gave a fuck for about this movie. Like I said before, it's the most boring movie I've ever watched, and I'm not even joking with you.
Yeah.
What? All right, and what about you?
Um, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, like ever. Um, it's boring as a motherfucker. It's so fucking boring. I tried the first time I watched this, I was excited for it because you look at the film poster and you think, oh, this is some epic. This is like Troy, right? This is
Mm,
another one of those. And then you quickly realize that first of all, the characters they don't have any depth to them. Um, they just you don't care about anybody, and then the movie just keeps throwing new characters at you. It's like you haven't even developed this character. You haven't even developed
yeah,
the characters that appear early on in the movie. Why do you keep throwing more characters for me to not give a shit about? Um, and then the scenes, most of the scenes they don't really connect with each other very well. The movie will randomly jump from one plot point to the next, but then it'll drop plot points on a dime, and it's like, dude, you're not giving me, Ridley Scott's not giving me any reason to be invested into this world or these characters. And a lot of the scenes are just dragged out. They're overplayed. There's too much dialogue in them. There's not enough going on in them to really be invested. And because the movie continuously just drops characters and just introduces new ones without developing any of them, makes it so you really don't care about anything that's actually happening. Another thing is, this is one, like, the editing in this movie is fucking awful. As you were saying earlier, the movie will just jump randomly from one location to the next and not really provide the audience with any context of how you get from point A to point B. And it just makes for a very, it makes for very sloppy filmmaking. It just drags, constantly throughout, with poor editing. The actors, they're doing a decent job, but and these actors can only elevate bad material so much. And what gets me is like the length. Like, this is one of the longest movies that I've watched. Lord of the Rings, like, every scene is fucking like entertaining. There's something in every scene to take from. Whereas in this, you just don't care because, again, the characters are underdeveloped, and that's the main difference between something like the Lord of the Rings and this. And it's a real shame because I do like some of these actors. I'm a huge Eva Green fan. Orlando Bloom, I'm not too invested into what he's done, but I do like some of the roles that he's had in his career. Um, Liam Neeson, I like quite a few of his movies as well, but this movie just it mishandles a lot of the popular actors that show up in this. The action sequences, while they're shot okay, because the movie doesn't provide enough reason to care about the characters. By the time you get to the action sequences, which take place, like the major battle sequences that take place very late in the movie, at that point it's like I've already signed out, like, mentally. Um, I swear I tried watching this movie at least three separate occasions, before we decided to watch it together, and I fell asleep every single time. And then I fell asleep again when you and I went to go watch this a few weeks ago, and it is boring as fuck. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not sugarcoating anything. It's boring as fuck. Like, literally, literally, it is just so, it's stuck so far up its own ass. And Ridley Scott, it's like no one sat down and explained to him, "Hey, man, I think we should do, something should happen with this screenplay where, we should take some things out, remove some scenes, switch some things around." He needed someone to hold him back and say, "Yeah, we're not going in a good direction with this." I guess he didn't really have that person on set, or if he did, he chose to ignore them. And this is what came to be. And yeah, this is one of the worst movies, like I said, that I've ever seen. This is one of Ridley Scott's worst films. I can't believe that there are motherfuckers that actually like this movie, because this movie's a piece of fucking dog shit. I hate this piece of shit. It's just so pretentious and gratuitous with throughout the vast majority of its runtime. I couldn't be bothered to give a fuck about Kingdom of Heaven. I could have someone point a gun to my head and say, "I will pull the trigger, and you will die unless you watch Kingdom of Heaven." And I'll tell that person, "Fuck off, shoot me in the head. I'm not watching that shit again." I really can't stand this fucking movie, man. It's trash. Troy, which is another, epic historical, epic piece, that is 10 times better than this. It's so much better. And I don't know if you've seen Troy, but it's night and day if you look at that and you go and try and watch this nonsense right here. So
Mhm.
yeah, Kingdom of Heaven's piece of fucking dog shit. Can't stand it. Anything else on Kingdom of Heaven?
Yeah, like I said, this is the most fucking boring movie ever. I usually try not to go too hard on movies, but this shit really is as boring as we're saying, and we really recommend you don't watch this shit like ever, unless you're struggling falling asleep. You can check out this movie, but yeah, that shit is awful. I'm with you on there.
Oh no, as far as anyone watching this video, if you haven't seen Kingdom of Heaven, I definitely recommend that you do check it out so you can understand how boring the fucking shit is when you try and sit down and watch this piece of shit. Because because if you doze off once throughout this movie, then you know it's you'll understand how badly you done fucked up. So and then at that point you can just turn it off and you know watch something else. So yeah, Kingdom of Heaven can burn in hell. Ridley Scott needs to be backhanded for this, like big time. So yeah, that's what we got to say about Kingdom of Heaven. It's a terrible movie, dude. What the fuck? At least this one has an epic battle and a good ending, unlike Game of Thrones. At least I cared what was happening in Game of Thrones. I don't care about what's happening in Kingdom of Heaven.
I think it was wild.
Some of these people are just yeah. Don't come around me talking about movies and you bring up Kingdom of Heaven and say say the words good movie and Kingdom of Heaven in the same sentence. We're not gonna get
He
along.
was on something.
Yeah, we're not gonna get along at all. Oh, and then I look over to the right, and some asshole made a video saying Batman versus Superman is a modern masterpiece.
Oh, goodness.
Oh no! Jesus Christ, people! Jesus Christ! God help us!